Episode 17. Tea with Maja. Good morning. Another day. Still think that's one of my favourite quotes. It's an Earl Nightingale quote. And it's, don't let the time that it takes to do something stop you from doing it. The time's going to pass anyway. And I think that's so lovely. Sometimes we get so caught up in needing things to happen so fast and so immediately that we forget the longer term time horizon that actually comes into play when we can forget about the outcome and get so ingrained in what happens. And again, I think where are you going, dude? In and out, in and out. I think it so nicely plays into you don't know where you're going to go, and you don't know what you don't know. So as long as you can find ways to keep bringing yourself back to the present and the craft and the doing of the thing and the excitement of the thing that lights you up, and keep following that, surely what unfolds is it's just different. I guess the conversation's more coming up because now, obviously, with what Jessie pulled off on Instagram, it's fucking amazing. I love how people can sit there and say social media doesn't work, and then this chick within 6 months builds her following to over 300 and something whatever followers, and then launches a challenge that's now had a $1.2 million launch. It's there. But now I can see that we're entering in this time where, again, she did that because she did the brave thing. She showed up online. She said the things. She sat in that meta area where she could show people what she was doing with her furniture, show the ebook, and then she was watching the responses in the comments. So she was making sure that then she was showing people how it actually worked, how it actually played out. And by doing that, she was speaking on camera, which meant she was learning a new skill. And she was demonstrating that new skill through shaky voice and slightly teary eyes and all, which was the authenticity piece that you can't jerry-rig. And then by doing that and by being so excited and by being so fucking just like a normal, decent human being, like you can tell what that means to her family. I mean, hell, that means a lot to anybody. I think it's very easy to distance ourselves, or maybe I guess I'm bringing it up because I've been finding it very interesting watching some of these other creators dissect what's been going on. And I even did have a bit of a moment myself the other day where I was like, yeah, and she's teaching people how to talk. And it's like, wow, so many people are doing that. It's like, yeah, but she's clearly been the catalyst to create positive action in others. And I think I may have talked about this in one of the other episodes, but I feel like when we come down to the roots and come down to the base of it, especially with personal brands, that's technically what we're trying to do. We're trying to embody the teachings that we believe or that we're spouting, living in that, which by definition will create what it is that we're doing, because that's how it works. And then people are trying to figure out what you did to get something where it's the thing that you did was embody the thing. I don't know, I'm still trying to digest all of this, because I put the little piece that I put up about that with the yapping stuff is that what I see people swarming to now is they've swarmed to what they've seen somebody else have a result from. And you can already see, I'm sure, light bulbs going off in people where they're like, oh, well, if I do a talking video, then if I do that, then I can have 1 million and something launch. And it's like, she was the perfect storm of being vulnerable but articulate, but it was thoughtful. It wasn't like she spent the time editing those pieces. She wrote her things. She had her vision. She was going through those process. Maybe she didn't know exactly what she was doing, but by going through those reps and just continuing to create the content that she was seeing the thread pull from, it all led her here. And I think one of the posts I did write recently about like not allowing your audience always to necessarily sway you in certain ways, I think again that also comes with a conversation of nuance, because it ebbs and flows, because at the end of the day, what are we doing out here other than putting out these signals, right, to then see what people are getting interested in or what they're actually responding to then see, okay, well, that maybe may be a way in to talk about something to bring them into another conversation, or this is the topic that people are clearly searching for. I think it's a very interesting place that you sit when, and I see why people get annoyed with social media in that sense. But again, I don't, because this type of content, this type of long form talking to your client, creating interesting pieces or creating the assets that you know you speak with your clients about all the time, those become your social media pieces of content that then you learn to say 1,000 different ways. And you can do it in a way that's I think, yeah, I don't know what this, I mean, you can see it because everybody always likes to go to the max, and there are always people that will always do things to the max. And we have such incredible filmmakers and creatives and visionaries out there that like creating these little mini 30-second reels or films, like it's little pieces of art all in and of themselves. I mean, that's the way I see it anyway. So I mean, I guess I struggle to see why people don't enjoy social media, or why they don't see how the loops kind of fit together. That if you're able to master a silly little skill set like this, to actually get your message and hone it and speak it to the people that you want to be bringing in, and that the people that you work with. Because if you're currently working with people, you know who you want to work with. And usually if you have a really shitty client and a really good client, ideally you're bringing in more of the really good client personas, which means you just have to talk to your camera as if you're talking to that type of client. And voila, then more of that type of client will start coming out of the woodwork. I think that's the bigger game. And a lot of that comes down to the copy, but a lot of that also just comes down to asking yourself the right questions and prompting yourself with the right inputs that allow you to kind of riff on a subject, or go a bit nuts, or geek out 2 or 3 more levels than maybe you're used to in terms of doing this stuff. Because again, it's amazing how the information out there in terms of how to build online, the loudest information is the shittiest information. And I think we now need to like realize that across the board. That usually the stuff that's being yelled from the rooftops, well, again, I guess it depends whose areas you fall down and whose rabbit holes you fall down. Oh, look, I came prepared with my tissue. Look, my nose is leaking again, so bear with me. Because it's not like, I mean, every time I like to try and define something or put a rule on it, I see another creator who's broken it. So I also feel like we're living in this era where so many people are trying to fit with rules of social media, and the only people that are actually managing to break through are the ones that are literally going to the rules, doing whatever they want to do, managing to break through that ceiling, and then trying to figure out how to teach people how to do that. And I don't know how you teach people how to have a fucking button. I think there's a couple of things. I'm just trying to, like, I try and, now when I'm looking back in terms of connecting the dots, it's like, what were the actual elements that allowed me to start turning more inwards and start feeling that connection? Because guys, I think about how I used to operate through this world. I was just like a nervous little meat suit walking around, like just full of so much fear and so much shame of like what people would think about me, or whether they would like me, or what. Bless her. Like, I think back sometimes, I'm like, just fucking speak up for yourself, woman. And I had to learn that. And I think that's also one of the hardest parts with stepping out into the online space, because it depends where you're at in your own internal journey, which is why I find it funny that usually the people that actually would work really well online are the ones that are completely like, I don't want to be there, because by that point they've created their own like values and philosophies, and they've seen some of the stuff that's out there, and they're just like, yeah, I don't want to play that game. And but then in their mind, for some reason, they still see social media as that, like, that's a weird game that's over there that they can't play, and they haven't realized that they get to play their own game within each platform. um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have come across that lovely lady. I think she's I'm pretty sure she's somewhere along the autistic spectrum, but she paints bugs, and she makes all the bug covers, and she's just an absolute bug nut. Like, she spent her entire life researching, and I remember she did this one on moths. But the best was, she has these. She has a little bit of, I think she has a little bit of a lazy eye on one side, but she looks around when she speaks to the camera. She doesn't look directly at the camera. And it was really funny. She did a video recently with one of the reels of somebody saying, why don't you look at the camera? And she explained, she was like, because I'm autistic and because I don't want to. And I realize that when I do the videos, I enjoy not looking at the camera. So why do I have to look at the camera? What is the point? These are my videos. This is my page. This is my bugs. Why would I start doing something that I really don't like to do when it's not something that I enjoy doing? And she finishes this whole reel and she's not looking at the camera, and it's just, again, I think I wish that was the bigger north star amongst all of this, because the feeling silly, the feeling a little bit embarrassed, the getting in front of camera, like the quicker you can lower those anxiety levels and get back in front and stand up. I viscerally remember this from my time being in F45, and it's obviously reminding me of some of these nice little phases getting back on the gym floor now. But I remember having to do the fucking demonstration. I was shaking, my voice was shaking. I remember doing it the first time, and I was like, managed to get through that. And I was shaking, and then the class went on, and it was like a couple of minutes, and it was gone, and my whole body was, and you just go through it, and it's like, oh, I didn't die. I didn't die. I managed to survive. It's not a problem. It was okay. And your body suddenly has this sign where it's like, oh, you're all right. That was scary, but you're fine. Now, and at least with adults, like, at least adults are kinder. I do find it funny when some people are like, oh, maybe it'll be easier. I'll go teach kids first. If you are new to teaching, good luck if you want to teach kids first. They are mean. They are very mean. Like, mean in the sense that if you're not entertaining them, they will start, they will do something else. They don't care. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care that their parent has paid for them to be with you in that hour, that you must impart the wisdom on them and they must sit and listen. No. They're just like, squirrel. And they'll do something else. That was such a character building thing. Oh my gosh. That was even more terrifying than working with the adults, because you're standing in front of a group of kids and you see that one that's just being a little shit and deciding today is not the day that they're paying attention. And it's like, ooh, you gotta wrangle everybody else, make sure. And it's like, it's very difficult. It's very tough. That was such a character building year. But back to F45 with those morning things, it's like, well, that's my job. I'm going to have to be doing these every morning. I'm going to have to be doing them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. I'd watched George do them, so I would do the demonstration. He would do the speaking things, so I'd listen to it a few times. And again, it was going through the practice of doing it and then reminding myself that even if I fucked up, if I said something wrong, you just make it part of what you're doing. You just turn around, oh, it's a real big mosquito. Oh, I got outside. I've got a nice mosquito net, but it doesn't help if they manage to get inside the house. And you just go again, and that level of fear that your body will bring up calms, because it's been put into a situation where it's like, okay, we don't need to worry about this anymore. But what's crazy about that is that if I wasn't actively putting myself in those situations that were scaring the shit out of me and realizing that I wanted to put myself in these scenarios where I would learn and I would grow by default, by being in that job. Even if it's not exactly what I wanted to do, it doesn't matter because I'm working on my health, I'm working around people, so I'm learning things, I'm learning about the body, I'm learning about people, I'm learning about myself, and I'm standing up in front of people and I'm having these conversations. And as the coach, you also have to pick people up when they're being a little bit slack. You have to ask them what's going on. Like, I'm a very people person. So that bit I always loved. But yeah, the standing up, the full body response of fear. I mean, even remember that all the way back to school. I used to pretend to be sick on days that I knew I had a presentation in front of the class. In my IB oral English exam, I burst into tears over the poem on a potato. I'm pretty sure it was a poem about a potato. I got so nervous. Somebody asking me a direct question, my mind goes blank. I used to hate that about learning languages as well. So much fear in saying something wrong and practicing a language and saying the wrong words that you stop yourself from even practicing. And it's like, I have put myself time and time again into these situations where I am uncomfortable. And I think so many people, myself included, for a long time, are trying to get the results of something they are not willing to put themselves through discomfort for. And that's when insanity starts to kick in. And I think it becomes easier to do it online only because you still have that distance. So it is easier to separate it. Actually, that's my thought as to my theory as to how many stupid people become really rich online then. Because there is that distance. So it's data points. So they know that the deal is how quickly can you be stupid? How quickly can you start getting through those shitty reps in order to hone something that then people actually want to click through to and move in from? Like the numbers in, numbers out. It's not it's not rocket appliances, but I don't know. I don't know why people want to play those games, though. I still feel like it's so easy to then go into just peddling shit for the sake of shit's sake. It's like, okay, great, you figured out one thing. You know, if you run a $7 thing and you get it out to enough hundreds of thousands of people and you run an ad and the money kind of like I get why people play those games. I don't understand. I don't like those games. I think again I've had chats with my friend Jake before about that. It's like surely we know enough of this routine. We know enough of the levers that work and what happens online that if we really wanted to, we could peddle shit. We could create a half decent ebook, run ads to it, get it in the hands of whoever's correct and go from there. And I just still feel like that's where part of the end user is being forgotten because it brings it back to I need the money, I need the things, I'm going to create something that may or may not be necessary in this world. And I think that's where then you get into those silly cycles of chasing tactics, the same way that people do on social media by building their following around the wrong metrics. You're chasing these tactics and these numbers, and it's great. They get all up there, but my God, I have seen the creators. I work with the creators that sometimes have these 300,000, 800,000 profiles. And if your audience is not doing what you want it to do, that is infuriating. Infuriating. I can't believe it. One of the other companies I interviewed 2-3 years ago or whatever to help them with some of their distribution stuff, and they're like, yeah, we can't pay rent, man. And I'm like, but you guys are inspiring so many people and you're doing so much. Like, that page had genuinely helped me through some of my rougher years with the posts that they were doing, and then I'd realized that there was a 6-month loop to what they'd done. So it was the same content every 6 months, which is great because by 6 months on a social media algorithm, you don't have, like, people don't look back that far. And even if they do, 6 months is a decent enough time that the message is actually relevant regardless. I mean, even some of the bigger creators will say when you're going through and you're starting to reach some compound and as you're growing, look back from the month before. And if there was a reel that had kind of ticked off for no quite apparent reason, just repost it as is for the following month. And if the numbers still do well, keep using it each month, because the new followers and the new people on your page will find that, and obviously that'll help. But as soon as it starts to dip again, then you don't need to use it anymore. And I think we also forget, with the amount of information that we've got going. I mean, I do forget too, but I also enjoy creating. So I think there's a difference in terms of what I enjoy repurposing and not. And I definitely feel like if there was a volume play that I wanted to make, that I could, like I have, because I have been posting for so long, I have stuff that I can repurpose. But for me, I don't feel like I feel like the way that I've been building my social media more through stories, but more through stories relating to what's happening at present. And I think this is where I've found my issue with this creation process, and why I've come to this conclusion, which I'm really enjoying and really loving, is I like it to be very connected to the now. Like if what I'm putting out is too distant to what's actually happening right now, I struggle with that. And I think that's also where I've realized, for me, being the artist, being the creator, I want to be part of this process. And I think so many people from the get-go, because they have already decided in their heads that they hate social media, they've already put it in their brains that they want this part outsourced or done by somebody else, which means already they're trying to figure out how to separate themselves from something that they haven't even figured out how to get it off the ground. And when you're a personal brand, people are coming for you. There's already been those big ebbs and flows with creators and mentors and stuff, who they talk a good game, they get you all into a room, and then you don't even see them. You end up getting picked up by like a junior coach or an assistant or something. And you get maybe one live call with them, but because there's so many people in the room, you don't even get a chance to ask a question, or so you're basically doing a long course without the creator, without any yeah, I don't know. I think, again, everybody needs to be running their businesses the way that makes sense for them. It was the same thing with softwares with my clients. I remember there was a big phase. I was getting so excited about Notion templates, and what you can do in there. And I mean, it's incredible. Like, if you've ever used Notion, I don't think it's kind of like Photoshop or even your phone. People don't even scratch the surface of what's possible. I mean, the entire agency that I work with runs off the back end of Notion, and that already blew my mind. Like, seeing how that was built out. Oh, I get so excited about systems, and they work. It is very exciting. This is also where I realize I'm strange. So any more strange people that get excited about systems? But I remember making this beautiful, like, HQ dashboard for some of my clients, where we have our check-ins, where the videos are posted, where we've got all our different tabs, so we can have the content stuff, we can have the calendar to, forecast what's coming up, we can plan the content, we can plan the things, you can tag the videos, it can be in there, you can have another, agency or different people plug in, and it's all in one space. It's great. But if they don't use it, they don't use it. And I think it's very easy sometimes on the front end, as a person coming up with these things, or coming up with a course, or coming up with materials, or coming up with videos. And I don't know if it's just the trend of where we've come from within information, that it's now moving into just a different phase. And one of the reasons why I am building these bots is because people don't have time to be on calls all the time, but they also want to be on calls, but then they don't want to have to be on calls. But then what happens after the call, and they have to go and do the work, if that's not supervised by the mentor, or if you've got all these tools. Like, there's so many different areas where things can leak and things can go wrong. It reminds me again of the martial arts kids and training them, and sometimes, they'd be with us for a few months, and then their parents are asking us why they're not grading. And if the kids are a little shit sometimes in the class, and they're not listening and they're not doing the stuff, we can't give them the stamps for the different things because they're not listening and they're not doing it. That was where the textbooks came into play. I built the textbooks out for the year that I was there. It was great, so that we actually had stamps to tell the clients and tell the parents, like, your kid can't do it, so he can't grade, so he can't get a new belt, so he must keep coming back. Because sometimes in Asia, if you're not just running through the ranks, then usually they just change activity, do something else instead of push through and do the hard things. So, good lesson to why martial arts is very good teaching for kids and, well, adults and anybody in general. But it was that expectation, and I remember thinking, I was like, what the fuck are these parents expecting? Like, their kid comes to us once, maybe twice a week, for 45 minutes to an hour. And yes, we go through philosophy, we go through meditation, we go through the kicks, we go through the stuff. But the rest of their lives are outside. And so when they come back, we've got to wrangle them into a 45-minute session having to face all their other conditioning outside. And I don't know, we do that to ourselves as well. You know, we give ourselves these short windows of allowing ourselves to get any good at anything or, you know, do anything or even do it enough to see if we even enjoy it. I think that's something that I've very much underestimated about this process is some of these experimentation loops. Like, what's nice with AI is that they're getting faster, right? You can have an idea in the morning, you can have the landing page, everything created and up and out in the afternoon. That is the whole point of these bots. They help you do the heavy lifting so that you're not spending then 6 weeks developing an idea to then try and get it out, to then hear crickets, to then go, oh, it's a personal attack on my identity and nobody likes me and nobody likes my ideas. And it's like, no, you just haven't sort of looked back for a second and realized that the only information that you gave them was a flash of a second. Nobody even had enough of a time to let it seep in, let alone figure out if that's what they want, let alone then decide to commit and give you money for the thing that they are doing. I think that's something I've realized with a lot of, I guess, some of the more community chats that I've had over the years here with some of the Hong Kong groups. I just realize after a while, people are just being like, nobody's listening to me. And it's like, well, how much are you posting? How much are you putting out? How much? And also, not even that. Why? Why would they? Like, are you giving them a reason to listen to you? Are you giving the right people a reason to listen? Because not everybody needs to listen. The right people need to listen. But then the right people also need to be listening to enough of the things that are entertaining that fit them so that they know to make the decision. Like, it comes back to that Mark Manson thing, this the subtle art of not giving a fuck, right? It's the entitlement. Why? Like, and then I know I sat in that for a long time too as well. It's like, oh look, I could make something so pretty. Why is there nobody paying attention? It's like, well, fucking boo-hoo. Give them a reason to. And if they don't, do it again. Give them another reason to, and give them another reason to. And then this is the game. And I think the quicker that you can detach the outcome from being a personal attack on your identity, the quicker you can move through these things and start looking at it as the experiment that it is. Hello, dude. Can you come say hi? I'm almost finished with my tea. Yes. This is Lincoln. You'll be seeing him around. Coach Lincoln, I call him on my Instagram because he counts my reps on the roof. He's a Hong Kong doggy. Yes, you're a very handsome dog. Okay, bye. Syllabily. But yeah, I don't know. It's not one thing. It's never one thing. It's these little pieces that you start to collect over time that then suddenly form something that you can get excited about. Then that energy starts to change. But you have to be building. I'm just picturing it now as like building sandcastles, right? Like right next to the sea. Like you're building these sandcastles and the ocean's going to come in. Sorry, coughed right into the mic. And the ocean's going to come in and knock them down, and it's going to go out, and you're going to build them again because the fun is building. And eventually you realize you build it slightly further back and it becomes a bit more structured. And then, you know, that becomes then something that is so much fun that other people want to play and build their own houses and come and join you. And It's annoying because it's simple, but it's not easy, but it's simple. But we always like to doubt the simple. I think that's one of the weirdest mental games of all of this. Why do we doubt the simple? Why do we doubt when it's good? Why do we doubt when we find that ease and flow? Why do we doubt? Why do we doubt? I'd love to know. I'd love to know what you guys are dealing with as well. And I'm excited as these episodes just continue. Let's see who shows up. I'm planning on doing this for a while. Well, I guess the only natural break pause in these episodes will be at the end of August, September, when we go on our hiking trip. So we're heading out to Peru. We were watching I always called it Peru, but one of the food bloggy guys that we were watching the other day called it Peru. So I don't know how to pronounce it. It'll be our first time over to South America, and we're very excited. So we're doing 10 days hiking around that trail, and oh my goodness, the more I'm finding out about this, the more we're going to have to prepare. We land in Juarez at 3,000 feet. The altitude sickness, we're going to be climbing at like 4,000, 5,000 feet altitude. It's going to be cold. It's going to be freezing. It's going to be a very different hike. We get donkeys to carry the bags. And it's 10 days around the nature reserve. Oh my goodness. I'm very excited. But yeah, these episodes will be continuing Monday to Friday. Until then, that'll be a natural rest pause, and then they will be continuing afterwards. But yeah, I'm excited about how these will unfold. But I want this conversation to be coming more to the front, where it's learning to sit in that reminder that the best things can't be rushed, but at the same time, more action and more movement can be taken. I think a lot of the time we forget that when we've been stagnant or when we've been, not doing things, it's easy not to want to rush down doing too much again. But at the same time, sometimes the quickest way to actually get yourself up and out is just to do more and see what sticks. So, I don't know. Be interesting to see how other people are navigating through a lot of this. And yeah, if you ever fancy deciding to come on a spill the tea episode with me, send me a message in the comments. Let's have a chat. I just want to see where these things go. I just want to start opening up these conversations, because it's never one thing. It's never one mentor. It's never one solution. It's never one course. It's never one idea. It's never one thought. And even if there is one sort of, it's never one, right? Because it's sort of pinging you off so many different things. So even if one little thought sends you on a slightly new trajectory over here, by doing that, it's then leading you into another new thought that might, make you bob and weave all over the place. But we live in a funny world. We are funny beings, but I definitely know the keys: creativity, joy, laughter, calm, doing the things that you enjoy doing, and allowing yourself to be okay to say no to the things that you don't, without the FOMO. What did my friend call it? JOMO, the joy of missing out. Switch it to that. Switch it to that and keep everything out until you find the joy of the things that you're enjoying. And then you find people that enjoy those so that you can be FOMO about that, not FOMO about stuff that you don't even enjoy. I think that's such a ludicrous thing. And then we're almost on tangent for a whole nother conversation. So I'm going to stop it there. We've done half an hour and my tea is empty. Cheers. Happy Wednesday. See you guys tomorrow.